How do we make our graphs more accessible? Accessibility is woven into all of my Dataviz trainings, but I get this question a lot, which is a good thing. I'm so glad people care about accessibility. So I wanted to make a talk that was focused just on accessibility and quick wins, because there's a misconception that accessibility is going to take all day. That's false. There are absolutely some quick edits that we can make to get immediate impact. So what you're about to hear is a portion of a talk that I gave at Good Tech Fest back in spring 2021 about quick wins for accessibility in Dataviz. Enjoy. Welcome everybody to our session. We're going to get started in just a minute, but for now, let me know, can you see me? Can you hear me? Let me know in the chat, or if you've got your webcam on, just give me a good old thumbs up or smile just to verify that everything is working correctly. All right, I see some thumbs up from Tiffany, Douglas, Michelle, Anna, and probably a lot more of you whose little thumbs I can't see. I see Douglas, Patrick, Andrea. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, we have got 28 people here so far. We might get some more people coming in, as they're navigating the conference environment. So let's give them a moment to come in. So for now, use the chat window. Let's do the good old intros. Let me know, who are you? Where are you? I'm joining from Orlando today. It is a cold day here in Orlando. So I already went bike riding. I went swimming. The pool was like only 88 degrees, which I'm from the DC area originally. So that used to feel really warm to me, but now I'm like, oh no, it doesn't feel like a hot tub. How am I going to manage? All right. Rebecca is here joining from Pennsylvania. Anna's here from California. How about everybody else? Let us know in the chat. We've got 34 of us here now. So I'd love to meet all 34 of you. Oh, and if you haven't already, I bet you know this about Zoom. You can rename yourself. So bonus points for adding your pronouns so that I know how to address you later on when we do some Q&A. Matt is from Chicago. Hello, Melissa. Hello, hello. Good to see a familiar face. Let's see. Pratyusha is from, oh no, now I lost it. Okay. Chris, you've got cicadas. I hear there are cicadas all over right now. We don't have any in Florida yet. I don't think they're supposed to come this far south. We'll see. Kim's from Chicago. Martha is from the suburbs of Chicago. Hello, Stephanie from Washington, D.C. Jaime is from Ecuador. Melissa from Chicago. Valerie from Denver. Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, let me tell you who I am and what we're going to be talking about today. So today we're talking about designing accessible data visualizations, 10 quick wins. There's a misperception that accessibility takes all day, or it's really costly, or it's really confusing. False. Absolutely false. It's really not that complicated. So hence the 10 quick wins, so that if you implement even one of these or even two of these, your Dataviz is going to be even more accessible. And we're focusing on data visualization today, graphs, all the graphs that go in nonprofit reports and slideshows and dashboards and infographics. There are tons of resources out there about adding alt text to images or making the text on your website accessible. Those are great. Those are wonderful topics, but those are not going to be in this session. This session is going to be a deep dive on graphs. I don't see too many people talk about this, and it's one of those things that people are always like, I don't know, it feels really complicated to me. It feels like it's going to cost a lot. It's really not that bad. So that's why I'm going to break it down for you today. All right. So I'm Anne Emery, and I run Depict Data Studio. I've been working for myself now for 7 or 8 years, since 2014. And before that, I was actually an internal evaluator in a big nonprofit in the DC area. And then I worked in another nonprofit partnering with foundations. I worked for federal government contracting agencies, producing reports for those agencies and for policymakers. I come from an evaluation background, so you're going to see some fictional generic Dataviz examples today, but just know, the like using data for social good, using data for decision making, that's core to what I do. And since 2014, my team and I have worked with over 200 organizations. So some that might be similar to yours, some that might be different to yours. So I work with a lot of nonprofits, foundations, government agencies, universities, library systems, film companies, banks, a little bit of everybody. And the best way to connect with me after today is probably LinkedIn. That's the platform I use the most. So please go search for me. When we get a break, I'll drop the link in the chat window to save you some time. I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, I don't know you, I'm not going to connect with you. We can totally be LinkedIn friends. So please do send me a request. Just say, hey, saw you at Good Tech Fest, would love to connect. And then we can be LinkedIn connections and learn from one another. Okay. Accessibility. This is a tricky term. This term means different things to different people. So let me know in the chat, what does accessibility mean to you? I have some guesses. I have some guesses on what you're going to say, but let's see what this group says. I'm going to read off a few of the definitions or concepts that come in. Rebecca says equitable availability for all. Ooh, I love equitable. Good keyword there. Mark says usable by everyone. What else? Somia says understandable by everyone. Hannah says inclusion in practice. Daniel says multiple pathways to understanding the message you want to communicate. Wow. Okay, what else? There's a couple other key terms that I often hear mixed in. We'll see if this comes to mind for any of you. What comes to mind? Accessibility. There are multiple correct answers here. So don't feel like, I don't know, I don't want to get the wrong one for Anne. I don't want to embarrass myself. False. Okay, this is a term that's used in lots of different settings. Cassie says it means that all people should be able to use /view/understand without disclosure. Somia says diversity and inclusion. Alex says easy, like ease of use and access. Gare says not excluding. Yeah, these are all correct answers. So when I've asked this question before, this is what some workshop attendees tend to say. They'll usually, this is what I didn't hear from this group. Maybe just now from Madison, colorblind accessibility. Christina says design for stakeholders. A lot of times people say it's legible for people with disabilities, like if you're colorblind or you need a screen reader or you wear hearing aids, that is also correct. Some people in government settings will mention 508 compliance, which is the federal government's kind of official definition for like if you get federal funding or you're designing a federal website, exact rules for making sure that that website is accessible. Sometimes people will mention hearing aids, sign language interpreters. Sometimes people mention like a more of a broader definition, like explaining technical information to non-technical audiences, which is, that's what I do for a living. That's what I love, helping the non-technical audiences understand even the most detailed data. Sometimes people mention speed reading, skimmability, color blindness, like we've got here. Yeah, Douglas says no barriers to understanding. Okay, these are excellent. So today we're going to cover 10 quick wins, kind of. We only have an hour. So what I would love for you to do is vote. Let me know in the chat window, vote for your top 2 or 3. What are the concepts that you really, really want to learn about? It might be something brand new and you're like, I never thought about uppercase and lowercase letters. Or it might be something that you're kind of familiar with and you want to hear my take on it, like icons, or I don't know, any other. These are all good choices. These are all really, really exciting choices. So vote for your top ones and we'll start there. I want this to be a choose your own adventure presentation that's really geared towards this group's preferences. All right, and now I'm going to try the very tough task of reading through these on the chat window, and I'm going to make some notes in my notebook real quick. Okay, let's see. We've got some 8s, 5s. I see a few 5s and 8s. What is 5? Legends and labels. Ooh, that's a good one. I actually updated that one yesterday, so I'm going to vote for 5 too, because I've got some brand new stuff to show you. Okay. Let's do number 5. What are some other common ones? I see 8s, 9s, 10s. We could totally do these. Maybe 5, 8, 9, 10. I don't know. Everybody's voting for everyone. That's okay. Okay, I've got some good news for you. Even though we're not covering all 10 in our very short hour together, I am going to give you all 10 later. Okay, so stay tuned. Remind me at the end. I've got an ebook for you that has all 10. It's basically the lengthy version of this slide deck with all 150 slides or so. You're not going to have to pay for the ebook. I made a coupon code for the Good Tech Fest audience. So remind me at the end to cover this so that, you can still learn about the things you voted for, even if we don't have a chance to get to them. Okay, so let's get started with number 5, legends and labels, a very graph specific technique. Very common challenges here, very easy solutions. Okay, legends and labels. So grab your notebook, paper and pen, please. You know the research. If you write things with a good old paper and pen, you're more likely to remember them versus if you're just typing notes. So this is the takeaway message. I need you to write down so you never, ever forget it. It's this simple. Remove legends and directly label. Remove legends and directly label. I hope you enjoy my really messy handwriting in here. I was trying to write with my mouse. So this is kind of halfway what my real handwriting looks like. I'm sure yours is much nicer and much neater. Okay, there's some jargon in there. I bet you know what a legend is, a legend or a key, but then directly labeling. What is that? What the heck is that? Let's talk about that. All right. This is a regular graph, an outdated graph, an inaccessible graph. So I saw this graph a few years ago, and I actually really liked most aspects of it. I really liked the title in particular. I really liked that the title's phrased as a question. It's not just figure 2% of women majors by field, but they've got a question to get us really engaged. 2 thumbs up to the title. What happened to women in computer science? But then I kept reading a little bit and I was like, wait a second, time out, because in full color, I can tell mostly which section of the legend corresponds with which line mostly, right? The turquoise lines are a little bit tricky because you're like, wait, which one's dark and medium and light, and your eyes are zigzagging back and forth. It's really time consuming. So it works in color, kind of, but then what if it's in grayscale? People still print things once in a while. They're probably printing in grayscale because, color ink is so expensive. Also, if somebody was colorblind, if they had a color vision deficiency, it's not going to work either. We might come back to this one if we have time, but the gist of it for color blindness is no red and green next to one another, never ever. And remember, the beginning graph had turquoises and reds. They're all going to look like yellows for somebody who's colorblind. So this is why traditional legends don't work. They're a thing of the past. You're never ever allowed to use them ever again after today. So what to do instead? We're going to directly label our graphs. Direct labeling just means you put the labels as close as physically possible to the data. So rather than that zigzag, legend, line, you just put the labels right beside the line. For bonus points, color code the text. Dark turquoise for medical school, medium turquoise for law school, light turquoise for physical sciences, and so on. It's not perfect in grayscale. It's not going to be perfect for somebody with color vision deficiencies. because this particular graph, do you see how there's more data for medical school and there's less data for the other ones? I wish they would have just chose one cutoff point to make it really easy. So this particular one, it's still like, oh, I wish they would have edited that a little bit, but it's still going to be easier to read than the original. Direct labeling, okay? Delete the legend, place the labels next to the data. So far, so good, right? We can do that. We've talked about a line chart though, but here are the slides I added just yesterday. They're brand new. I've been wanting to teach on this technique forever and ever. So I want to show you how you directly label pies, donuts, bars, clustered columns. There's so many other chart types that we're going to be using on a regular basis that we also need to directly label. Okay. What do you think? Let me know in the chat. What do you do with a pie chart? No, don't say pies are for eating or never use pie charts. I hear that a lot in the Dataviz community. That's false. That's the overly simplistic view of pie charts. Pie charts are not evil. In fact, you can use them in very specific circumstances. So the rule of pie charts is just two slices. The dark slice that you want the viewers to really look at versus everything else in gray. Okay, so this is a 2-slice pie chart. It's totally fine. Keep using your 2-slice pies, but we're gonna have to directly label them. So what do we do? Anybody have any ideas? What do you do? This is, I use everyday software. I use Excel, PowerPoint, and Word about 99% of the time. And this is what Excel gives us, the separate little A and B teeny tiny squares under the pie. Okay, I'm going to give you the answer. It's really easy. We're just going to put the labels on top of the pie slices. That's all, right on top. There's no eyes zigzagging, so it's speedier for everybody to read. It's going to be legible in grayscale. It's going to be legible even for people with color vision deficiencies who can't tell the colors apart. That's easy, right? We can totally do that. Melissa says, add text to the pie. Yep, absolutely. Okay, this one's a little bit trickier. What if you have long labels? I know in real life, none of us are visualizing A and B. Okay, you're also not visualizing apples and bananas. You might be visualizing something like the treatment group and the control group, or I'm thinking back to my time as an internal evaluator in a nonprofit. We visualize things like youth who graduated high school on time versus those who didn't, or people who lived in Maryland versus people who lived in DC or Virginia. So what do you do if you have longer labels? It doesn't quite fit. I don't want it to be chopped off like this one. That's not going to work. Okay, big old red X there. In this case, you could just put the labels outside of the pie slices. Okay, it's really, really close. There's minimal eyes zigzagging, minimal time lost. Remember, for bonus points, you're going to color code your text to match the graph. So purple text for the purple part of the graph, dark gray text to match the gray section of the graph. The text graph matching is just one more visual cue. It's going to help our audiences really understand what's what. All right, I've got another scenario for you. Donuts. They're just a pie chart with a hole punched in the middle. You've seen a million donut charts. Same rules, 2 slices max, 1 dark slice versus everything else that's light. This isn't going to work. It's really, really hard to fit any labels on top of the donut segments. Almost now, I don't think I've ever been able to do this on a data project ever. Even this fictional one, A and B, it just doesn't fit. It looks a little bit sloppy, maybe. I don't want that for your work. I want you to look really professional. So you can just put them outside. That works. Or donut charts, you could go inside if it fits, if it's not too long. Sometimes I'll put like a whole survey question. That's not going to work. Like, 20% of people strongly agreed that blah, blah, that's not going to fit inside. But if you have longer text, you could also do outside. 20% of survey respondents said that apples were their favorite fruit, something like that. Okay. With a nice color coding back and forth too, just to remind people what the 20% refers to. So we've done pies, we've done donuts, bar charts. This one should be obvious, but I think Excel and PowerPoint and Word sometimes get in our way. Have you ever seen this? The before version where it gives you like series 1, or it'll just, we don't need it. If you have a regular old bar chart, no need for a legend. Just delete the legend to cut down on some confusion. Clustered bars. You can put the labels right on top of the bars. That works as well. So let's say you're comparing the treatment group to the control group. Just put the words treatment and control right on top of the bars if they're long enough. Do you see how they fit on the top bars, but they probably wouldn't fit on the bottom? Like they fit for group A, but not for group C. So this doesn't work every single time, but it works, most of the time in real life projects. Oh, Rebecca, great question. Yeah, if anybody has how-to questions, let me know, because I literally teach Dataviz and Excel for a living, and I'm happy to teach you all of my how-to secrets. So Rebecca asks, are those added as text boxes on top of the graph? Yes, this one is, because I made it really quickly for training purposes, but there are some advanced maneuvers to doing this. And the advanced maneuver, should I show you? It might take some time to fit. Well, no, because this data is in Excel. I think I broke the link on purpose. Anyway, do you see the 1200 label on the far right of that bar? You can click on that to activate it and right click and then click on format label. And you're going to see this sidebar pop up on your Excel or PowerPoint screen with all sorts of editing features for what you can do to that label. And you check the box that either says like show series name or show category name. And then you can simply add the word treatment or control to that text box. Then you have to rearrange it a little bit to make sure it's inside the bar, but there is an even fancier workaround if you would need to do that. I personally work on a lot of dashboard automation projects where I'm doing some code and a ton of behind the scenes formulas. So I do in real life, I try to avoid text boxes at all costs because they can be a little bit clunky and really, really hard to automate. So, all right. Martha asks, would you only add those to the top bars and not all the bars? Yep. You teach people how to read at the top or at the left. Those are the most valuable sections of real estate on the entire screen. And then, they learn how to read. You don't have to repeat it. They know what to do. They're going to know that all the blues are treatment and all the grays are control. Julia asks, how would you do alternative methods of labeling for data that automatically updates each day or week, maybe through a Power Query, without having to go and adjust the labels manually? Oh, remind me of this at the end, time permitting. Maybe we can do some troubleshooting together. Maybe I can send you to some blog posts too that have some automation tips. I have some YouTube videos with automation tips too. So Julia, remind me, time permitting, we can talk about this some more. Okay, let's do one more. Clustered columns. I am actually not a fan of putting the labels right on the columns because another accessibility quick win, write this one down too, horizontal text only. Horizontal, not vertical like this one, not diagonal. Horizontal text is going to be the fastest to read. It takes longer to read vertical or diagonal text. So while this is a win for some speed reading and grayscale and color vision deficiencies, it's also a loss in we have to bend our head, or your brain and your eyes have to do this kind of mental gymnastics with the text rotation. So I do not recommend putting labels on columns like this. I'd recommend just sticking with bar charts. If you have a nice horizontal bar, there's space for horizontal text on top of it. All right, and then final one, you already know this one, the line chart. You just put the labels beside the lines. I usually put them on the right. They don't have to go there. but that tends to be a really easy spot to read. And again, in real life, your labels are going to be longer. You might have a whole word or a short phrase. So off to the right is where there's going to be natural breathing room in the graph. That was number 5. Delete the legend, directly label the data. Pretty easy, right? What a quick win.